The majority of people who want to leave something behind for their kids and grandkids to enjoy prefer the concept of being able to give their loved ones more financial security when they pass away, even giving possibilities to descendants they have never met. However, intention alone won't necessarily result in a lasting legacy. Learning how to build generational wealth, in whatever form that may be for you, is important if you want to leave a lasting legacy. Not sure what generational wealth is? Don't worry, we've got you covered. We'll explain exactly what it is, how to build it, and develop financial independence here at Inlet Financial Coaching. So, what is generational wealth and what distinguishes it from personal wealth? The idea of generational wealth refers to when a family passes a sizable quantity of assets to the next generations. The family fortune, often referred to as generational wealth, is the result of many years of labor and sacrifice. On the other hand, there are a lot of self-made millionaires and billionaires in the world. This indicates that they relied on their labor-intensive efforts to increase their wealth. When it comes to this group of individuals, the great majority of them amassed their wealth through the same grueling labor and sacrifice that the founders of a family fortune underwent. Then there are the fortunate few who happen to become wealthy by accident, such as lottery winners. However, history has shown that most of these lottery winners do not maintain their fortunes for very long. Some millionaires and billionaires, like lottery winners, will end up losing all their riches, some because of illicit business practices and others because of poor investments. One of the main characteristics of personal wealth and fortune is that while many people don't make long-term plans, those that think about how their wealth will be used by future generations do. How do you build generational wealth, and how much time will it take? It is important to note that generational wealth cannot be built in a single generation. Even if you don't have that much money, it is still attainable to pass on some of your generation's wealth to the next. Although most people attempt to do this by leaving money to their inheritors in their wills, this wealth usually runs out within a single generation. The first generation of inheritors will pass real generational wealth to the second, to the next, and it goes on and on. In order to boost generational wealth, long-term investing is key. The story of the tortoise and the hare suggests that slow and steady wins the race. Once a family has accumulated a sizable sum of assets, they will concentrate on lower-risk investments for the majority of their assets if they want to guarantee that the assets are protected for future generations. Physical assets and long-term financial investments typically make up these investments. Physical assets, as opposed to financial assets such as bonds, loans, and stocks, have a history of being relatively stable over time. For a family to increase their wealth over time, buying land, commercial real estate may be wise long-term investments. Although a family will need to invest a substantial sum of money to acquire those assets, other physical assets are less expensive. One might buy precious metals. A family may make investments in collectibles like fine art or less tangible physical assets. These are items that won't lose value over time. The trust fund is one of the methods utilized by both individuals and families who desire to build wealth for future generations. Compound interest and smart long-term investment are essential to a trust fund's basic operation. In comparison to basic interest, compound interest is more advanced. Based on the principal investments, basic interest generates a fixed sum of money over the course of the investment. The money generated over that same time frame grows thanks to compound interest, which takes into account both the principal investment and the prior interest payments. This implies that compound interest might increase almost exponentially. The purchase of bonds, which will pay interest in the years before they mature, is another method that trust funds use. Bonds are a favorite among trust funds looking to make conservative investments since they tend to be long-term and low risk. Generational wealth can be built on a family-owned business or property instead of through a direct trust fund. In certain situations, new family members are awarded shares. These shares, in contrast to other kinds of stocks, would be subject to severe regulations that, in the event of the shareholder's death, the shares would return to the family. Up until the family loses the business, the cycle will just go on. What are the advantages of generational wealth? Why is hard work and sacrifice necessary to build generational wealth? One advantage of a family passing down wealth from generation to generation is that it gives the next generation of family members a head start. Despite the cliche that money can't buy happiness, it can sometimes open doors to better opportunities. Some may find that's unfair, but such perspective overlooks the sacrifice made by earlier generations to enable this generational wealth. Individual trust funds are frequently established for family members in wealthy families. The younger generation will no longer be forced to work an 8-hour shift. Instead, they will be free to pursue their aspirations. The provision of scholarships used to be one of the most popular advantages of generational wealth. There are grants as well as scholarships. A grant is another type of generational wealth created to address an issue. It gives researchers access to money so they can fix or solve the problem. Even a grant, known as the MacArthur Grant, rewards intelligent individuals for engaging in any endeavor of their choosing. What are some possible threats to your recently built generational wealth? Number 1 is greed. All family members must make certain sacrifices in order to keep and save money so that next generations will also be able to enjoy some riches. The greed of a single person or a conspiracy of family members is one of the greatest dangers to any family's fortune. For the majority of people, being able to live a decent life with little effort is fantastic. However, there are some people who, once they get a taste of it, crave more and more of it. These people have the power to squander riches that were intended for the rest of the family. Many different factors can lead to this. The easiest is that they steal the cash. By any means possible, they want to keep all the money for themselves. Unfortunately, these individuals create a toxic environment for the entire family. The bottom line is that everyone wants to take advantage of their options as much as possible. And having the money and wealth gives you a lot of options. If you can afford to quit a job that doesn't inspire you or don't have to worry about paying your bills, you have more freedom to imagine and live the life you truly desire. Why is it important for you to pass down wealth on to the next generation? Naturally, building generational wealth does not guarantee that your children will never face challenges. However, a lot of parents want to give their kids greater choices in life. Why not make a plan and give your kids a greater chance of gaining success in life? That concludes today's video. which we hope you enjoyed and learned something from. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.